Now we're off to business. So I've got the pleasure of introducing our first person of the day. It's our keynote speaker. It's Ryan Petersen, CEO of Flexport. For those who do not know Flexport, it's a freight forwarder and customs broker, but using new technology that's disrupting the industry to deliver their services. They've raised just on $94 million in venture capital in a relatively short time. And after being, as I said, a relatively short time in business, they are looking to be a top global freight forwarder within the top 50 by the end of this year. So with that, I would like you to give a big round of applause as we call on Ryan Petersen to come and speak to us. Thank you very much.
I don't know where you're sitting right now, but take a look, take an inventory of the room. Every single object within your line of sight right now was likely shipped. It was likely put on a boat, or a plane, or a truck to get to where you are. And yet, almost anyone who's ever imported a product has looked at this process and said, this is a nightmare. And we felt like there should be a better way. Our mission at Flexport is to bring the world free trade through technology, to reduce the cost of every single thing that you look at in the room right now. We want to unite the human population in a seamless web of commerce. Now, it's very hard.
Thank you. I always try to start all my speeches with some propaganda. So I want to come to talk to you today about the air freight industry in particular and the role of freight forwarders and the role of technology. And it's helpful to start by pointing out a problem, which is the airlines offer something that nobody needs. Everybody, all the airlines move cargo from airport to airport, but every single piece of cargo must go from door to door. So you have a disconnect here, and it leads to the role of the freight forwarder, which is to coordinate complexity. It's the art of, and sometimes science, of coordinating complexity, of moving goods on and off these different assets, of moving cargo you've got a truck moving to a warehouse, clearing through customs, put it on an airplane, all the way from door to door. What you have is a series of handoffs, and it today looks almost like a relay race where pieces of paper serve as a baton, telling people what to do on their leg. And so you're looking at a global network for moving cargo, and it seems to me you have a communications problem, and there's never been a better opportunity to use the internet as the global network for moving data in parallel to the cargo. So what's held this up? Why hasn't the internet played a bigger role in air freight and in freight forwarding and logistics? And as I said in the video, maybe it's because it's very hard. And one of the challenges here is that of the top 25 freight forwarders, all of them were founded before 1994 when Netscape was invented. And change is hard. It's often easier to build something from scratch than it is to rebuild a legacy system. It's not, and for those of you who've met me when all of my these people weren't in the room, I don't think that they're stupid. That's not, I never say that. I think that they have a really hard problem. And you're talking about $100 billion in combined revenue for these folks. So this is a big opportunity, a big industry. And yet, so we see why perhaps these guys haven't done it, is that it's hard and they're investing a lot, and I think many of them are making the right moves. And so why is it that new entrants haven't come on, like Flexport, like Freightos, why haven't other companies come into this world to enter it? It's because there are major barriers to entry. If you're Flexport, we have to overcome massive barriers to entry that these forwarders have, and I think they all fit into these two categories of scale and expertise. These guys have been on the scale side. You have real purchasing scale, and and a global footprint that is very hard for a new company to replicate. And systems, the systems are scale. There's decades of accumulated expertise embedded in those systems that give them a global footprint. And those all add up to price. They allow them to be very price competitive. It's hard. It's been very hard for Flexport. It's hard for any new entrant to get competitive on price. And on the expertise side, freight forwarding is about expertise. That's what we do, is help people troubleshoot, help get cargo in and out of tricky situations, clear customs, and have relationships on both sides of on all sides of the platform to get the job done. And those map pretty closely to service. And you'll notice that these are the two main dimensions of competition in our industry. It's been very hard for anyone to compete on anything other than price and on service. So what do you get? Because service, anybody can claim to have great service. Everybody does claim that. And so you end up often in a race to the bottom on price, and it becomes all discussions revolve around rates. It's a sad state of affairs, if you ask me, that all we ever talk about is price. And so as a new entrant coming into here, I think the challenge and the opportunity is to redefine these two dimensions, to use technology to redefine what scale means and redefine how we deliver expertise. And what more specifically on the scale side, well, technology is scale. The automation of a service, of a product, is infinitely scalable. When you write software, you write it once, and every additional time is free. So I think that's the opportunity on the scale side is how can we automate away human labor? You're not going to get rid of it altogether because, again, expertise is a core part of this, and that's human expertise. But if we can automate away lots of labor costs, it gives you a scale advantage. What that may look like, for example, is, of course, automating routine manual labor, data entry, mailing documents, that still happens, faxing things. That software and APIs can do that for free, literally for free. But also redefining how we engage with the airline industry, with the airlines, with the asset owners. You, as an asset owner, you need to fill your plane. And if your plane's not full, you don't make any money. And when a freight forwarder or a shipper doesn't show up with cargo that they booked, you lose money. And again, software plays a role here. If you structure all the data in a transaction from the moment that the purchase order is placed, you can be much more accurate in predicting what your demands are going to be, how much space you're going to need, and therefore not show up with the right amount of cargo that you promised to the airline. It's a different kind of scale. You've just used technology to redefine scale and give yourself an advantage. On the expertise side, I'll just point to one example, because first of all, we have to go and recruit all the smartest people and be sponges and create a learning culture. But there's some great examples of how technology can actually redefine expertise too. So at Flexport, every time we answer a customer service question, if it's a question that the customer service agent flags as a frequently asked question, we tag it. We say frequently asked question. The answer that they write will then get added to a knowledge base automatically. It gets cleaned up by an editor, added to our knowledge base. The next time someone asks the same question, the technology instantly and automatically answers that question. You don't have to re-answer it. Again, this is using technology to redefine the two core elements of competition in the industry. So again, yes. And what that looks like in our system is advanced tools to, for example, reroute cargo once it's already in transit. This is going to be more relevant in the ocean industry where you have 30 days to sell your cargo, but you can fulfill off the ocean container. You don't need to bring it to a warehouse. Giving people the actionable reporting means taking all of the data in a customer's supply chain, structuring that data in a database, giving it back to them to make better decisions. Companies come to Flexport because we offer a good user experience. They stay because we become the single best window into all the economic activity inside their own business. And then messaging, being able to chat real time. We within Flexport, we use a software called Slack, so our entire company's instant messaging with each other. We're now able to do that as well with our customers. Our customers can instant message with us, with their own vendors, with the underlying truckers, and ultimately, perhaps someday, with airline people. Let's connect everybody together in a single system where we can come together and share information. And in the end, we have APIs that allow us to both integrate into our partners, but longer term, you'll be able to program your freight. So a customer that knows how to write software can actually set rules for where things go. Instead of people talking to people as it is today, software will talk to software. And longer term, you'll see that machine intelligence and artificial intelligence will actually be able to make decisions to optimize your supply chain, and APIs pave the way for that to make freight programmable. So what you get is moving from where the forwarder acts as a hedge fund, buying low and selling high, to one where they act as an operating system for trade, and they're a scheduling agent that facilitates cargo and allows for this tripartite relationship where the shipper has a direct relationship with the carrier, and the forwarder is enabling that. It's enabling the moves on and off between carriers, and giving people accurate data, and ultimately creating value by coordinating complexity rather than extracting value, acting as a hedge fund. So what this looks like in our app, and believe me, we are not very far along our journey. I think we're 4 years old now, and I will be at this for the next decade or two. It has a lot of hard problems to solve. But we give customers real-time SKU level visibility. No customer cares about tracking numbers. They want to know where their products are. They don't even care where a shipment is. They want to know where the product inside that shipment is. And when you structure every snippet of text on every single document, you unlock that. You make it possible for a customer, just search by any piece of text. It could be a product name, a SKU, a style, and you'll find every single shipment that contains those products instantly, get landed costs to understand what have you spent on those, where are they headed, and be able to, again, reroute them in transit. Instant messaging, so you can interact with your supply chain real time and make it personal. We're not trying to eliminate people, we're trying to empower them. And giving people actionable reporting, again, so you can see what is my utilization. In this case, it's for an ocean container, but it'll be the exact same concept for an air console. And bringing it all together, that you have a very complex chain. There's no one company could own all the assets required to move global freight from door to door on their own network. I think you could argue a company that would be the world's largest company by an order of magnitude. If you had to own planes that went between every single airport, had trucks waiting, had ships connecting every port, trains, et cetera, you'll never find one company able to do this. So there will always be a role for freight forwarders. I think technology will change that role and make it so that you're actually serving this coordinating function rather than simply acting as a hedge fund that buys low and sells high. So in the end, that's Flexport and the way we see the future of this industry going. We think that there's going to be opportunities for lots and lots of people to succeed. I don't ever suspect that there will be one company doing this. You want to build it for a world where everybody is interacting with each other and making it possible for any two companies in the supply chain to come together and do business. And longer term, we hope to make trade so easy that there will be more of it, so that more people can participate in this global economy to create this seamless web of trade. The globe that you see behind me is our current progress on that mission. Every single yellow dot is an ocean container live as of yesterday when we recorded the video. The red ones are little airplanes. We should have filmed it at night when the planes were flying over the poles. And the blue dots are trucks moving cargo for our customers. Again, this is actually built by an engineer at Flexport who wanted art for his wall, but it turns out to be a really great representation showing that you can actually move freight and use technology to make the experience better. I'm happy to answer any questions if people want to challenge me. I know we have some competitors in the room who probably want to make me look dumb. I'm looking forward to that. Or anything. You can also find me on Twitter. My handle is typesfast, I don't type that fast, but I got the Twitter handle. And that's it. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak today. Don't leave me hanging up here with no questions.
Sorry, so last year, as we did, and it's become quite a bit of a tradition, that we got our mic, which can be thrown around the room.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
think everybody remembers this. So if there's any questions, and I see a hand at the end, I believe it's Scott. Scott, you need to come a bit closer.
And that's why I wasn't drafted last week.
Hey, Ryan. Scott Case from the International Air Cargo Association of Chicago, and also former Import Genius customer from your previous life. One of the big challenges I think that the industry faces is the ability to bring everybody together, and you certainly hit on it a lot in here. Chicago is kind of turning into a tech hotbed now. It's got the history from Coyote, several other companies that as I look at this, having done this for a couple of years now, the trucking industry was fairly easy to revolutionize because there wasn't a lot of technology underpinning it. Handwritten bill, handwritten accounting processes, domestic, not a lot of sort of regulatory or transborder issues. And so consequently, to be able to bring technology, to bring visibility to domestic trucking was a pretty low barrier to entry. Enter now the more complex nature of global things. We certainly have one customs agency here in the United States, so all customs brokers have to provide the same data set to customs. That's fairly easy for you to program too. You have a company like Project 44 who's building APIs that are doing connections between different people. But I think the biggest challenge that we all face in this room is the varying levels of technology that everyone in the supply chain has, whether it be the factory who's busy cranking out moldings and fasteners that doesn't have sort of that same level of sophistication, to people who are placing orders with these factories for either low value or medium value goods that are still being done not through any of the major sort of platforms or SAP or anything where you can electronically scoop it up. And then I guess just the final variable is the people who do own the assets themselves. The airlines in the room, the steamship lines, the railroads, they're trying to manage multiple needs. How do you sort of see all this coming together from the people who have different levels of sophistication, different levels of technology, the buy-in that they have, sort of customer by customer, to do this, to open up trade for themselves or to make it easier for their customers to do business with them?
Yeah, so I see it as our role. Our customers are living in 2017, and our industry is living in 1993. And the role of Flexport and other companies like us is going to be to bridge that gap. And in a lot of cases, one of the things that's helped us to the degree that we've been successful to get there has been that we're not dogmatic around being a software company. And we don't say, if it's not all machine to machine, we don't do it. We say, oh, if it's people to people, fine, pick up the phone and make the call. And bridge the gap with humans, fill the gap is actually one of our core company values. And it means like, okay, let's find a creative solution. Ultimately, what we're building is a very complex system. And complex systems they evolve, they iterate over many, many cycles and generations and iterations. Hopefully not human generations, but generations of software. It can go day by day and make improvements. I don't think that you can intelligently design a system of this complexity, meaning I don't think you could get a bunch of geniuses in a room at a whiteboard, draw it on a map and say, okay, cool, let's hire IBM, build the thing, deliver it, and we're done. It's going to be an ongoing journey of continually building software every day. It's never complete. Right. And looking to, in the meantime, not say we don't do it until the software is done, do it manually. We won't build any software until we've done something 10 or 100 times manually. Then we'll try to put it into code. So ultimately, we have to look at all the different stakeholders in the chain as our customers. Right. Including airlines, including trucking companies, and build tools for them as well. It's not just building software for the shippers. And in a lot of cases, I can't build software for an airline that's 1,000 times bigger than us in revenue and expect them to just conform and use my software because I asked them. So we have to be realistic and see what is the problem that we're solving for, what's a tool that we could build to make that better.
Right, and thank you very much. I appreciate you that, and it was something that I've had discussions as well with other people in the room. Brandon, you and I have talked about it, and I think you just wrote an Air Cargo World piece about it. The fact that for all the digitization, and I loathe the word disruptor. You can't swing, you can't walk into a wall without hitting the word disruptor used now. I think that there's a lot that's involved in sort of that human intelligence, that human capital, because there are nuances, because there are variables that require things to be done that can't be rerouted. This isn't just like a little switch flipping and sending something down a different conveyor belt. So the human piece of this thing is important. It's going to remain important regardless of how many of these tools are able to be deployed for the benefit of the shipment in transit. It's still going to require humans, very capable humans, very experienced ones, who are able to guide this thing from a top level down.
I 100% agree with that. Your turn to throw it.
I throw better than I catch.
One more?
Promise. Bueller?
Over here. Come on.
Asking for a bad day. Hi, Ryan, thanks for coming this morning. It's been very informative. As you see it, what keeps you up at night about our business in general? What are some of the things that concern you about the future of air cargo and freight forwarding? And if you had a magic wand, what would you be changing?
For me, so I don't worry about things I can't control, like geopolitics and things like that. I just don't even let my mind go there. I got no control over it, so it's just not helpful to think about it. Where I worry about the complexity involved, the number, and I mean complexity in the real scientific definition of the term, where you have local interactions and local rules so that define the system. So something happening here affects 5 other things over there, which then affect 5 other things over there, and it's all this complex chain. Supply chains are inherently complex, and it can be very hard to write a set of instructions that's universal. I don't think that's actually, it's quite likely that's impossible to actually create an algorithm that can ever manage that level of complexity, because there's so many interdependencies in the system. So and yet if we don't solve that problem, you're never, at least at Flexport, going to unlock the huge potential that's there. And so we have to worry a lot about culture is the answer to that, because what you need to do in a complex world is create teams of people that can deal with uncertainty, that can deal with complexity, and allow them to be empowered to go and solve the problem that their customers are facing, that their vendors are facing, and be responsive and not need a lot of bureaucracy, and be able to come in and then from a software perspective, what are the tools that those people need to make them effective? It's not, let me write algorithms to do their job for them. It's like, let me empower them so that they're not wasting time on little transactional things, but that they can level up and be consultative and be strategic. Those I think are the challenge if you're trying to build software for this industry. You can't sit here and pretend that I'm going to write an algorithm that will handle all possible contingencies. Logistics is a world of exceptions, and you're not going to be able to map every single thing that could possibly go wrong. Okay, thanks. We'll wrap it up there, but thank you all very much for, and I'm around all week, so I'd love to chat with you.